Hello, I'm Ruth Etches, nutritionist, functional medicine practitioner and specialist in brain health and mental well-being. So today we're going to be digging into a subject which has been a huge part of my clinical practice over the last 2 to 3 years, and that is the neurological and neuropsychiatric impact of long COVID. Now, long COVID is now believed to afflict an estimated 65 million individuals globally, with an absolutely staggering economic burden on healthcare systems and economies, and really a devastating personal burden affecting livelihoods, ability to care for children and family members, social life, hobbies and joy. And many of the patients I speak to really feel that they are just holding on to the threads of who they once were, perhaps just getting through the day, but with nothing left in the tank at the end of the day, really, for the things that make life worth living. And many of the people I speak to as well previously had very active, busy lives and now feel really like a shell of their former selves. And there's very much a loss of identity, and the mental health impact on them is very significant. So it's really important to say that anyone who's been infected with COVID virus can experience long COVID, whether that's severe or mild illness, or indeed no symptoms at all. It really doesn't discriminate. And long COVID can affect pretty much every organ in the body, from the heart and brain to the lungs, kidneys, skin and GI tract. But today we're very much going to be honing into the neurological symptoms of long COVID, and I'm going to discuss the most common symptom picture, the likely root cause mechanisms, and then talk about some of the most promising approaches, certainly that I have seen in my clinic. So symptom-wise, although COVID was thought of initially very much as a pulmonary disease affecting the lungs and respiratory system, the most common persistent and disabling symptoms of long COVID seem to have more of a neurological or neuropsychiatric basis. And symptoms affecting the brain really include things like brain fog, debilitating fatigue, cognitive dysfunction, memory problems, perhaps a decline in attention, language, verbal fluency, word finding, poor executive function, and just overwhelm with daily activities. And then other symptoms may seem rooted more in the body than in the brain, such as pain and post-exertional malaise, like an energy crash experienced after even mild exercise. But those too result from neurological dysfunction, often in the autonomic nervous system, which directs our bodies to breathe, digest food, and generally runs our organs on autopilot. And this is called dysautonomia, and this can really lead to dizziness, racing heart, high or low blood pressure, and gut disturbances, sometimes leaving people unable to function. And meanwhile, alongside all this, the mental health consequences of long COVID include things like increased anxiety, depression, and PTSD, probably likely in part due to having the rug literally pulled from underneath you when it comes to your health, but also possibly due to changes in brain biochemistry as a result of the virus. So after 3.5 years of living with COVID, what do we know about what's actually going on and the mechanisms? Well, we are further along in our understanding, but researchers, it's fair to say, still don't have all the answers. And my experience certainly has been that the mechanism is not going to be the same for everyone. Suspected mechanisms of neurological long COVID include immune activation, so a sort of unresolved inflammation. And in the brain, this is called neuroinflammation, and often will involve the priming of the brain's immune cells, called the microglial cells, which very much move into a pro-inflammatory state. And this ongoing unresolved dysregulation of the immune system would also explain the hypersensitivity of many clients that I see, with very significant histamine reactions, food sensitivities, and an ongoing mast cell activation, which really seems to characterize a lot of long COVID symptoms. So the second possible mechanism that we're seeing is mitochondrial dysfunction. So viral diseases like COVID are known for their ability to hijack and destabilize the environment inside the cell, creating conditions that are favorable for their own replication and existence. And the mitochondria are very delicate cell batteries which are responsible for energy production. And these are highly susceptible to both physiological and environmental insults, such as viral infection. And disruption of the mitochondria can very much develop as a result of disruption to the mitochondrial metabolic pathway. So it's really very much like an inability to fuel our energy batteries efficiently. And this can really lead to a starving brain. Number 3 mechanism, viral persistence. So this hypothesis that certainly seems to be the case in a subset of the population suggests that viral particles may well persist in the brain or in other parts of the nervous system, very much perpetuating ongoing symptoms. Number 4, autoimmune antibodies. So there is emerging evidence of autoimmune components in long COVID, such as autoantibodies that interact with the nerve cells. And in long COVID patients, this can really incite persistent immune activity and possibly a picture of neurological autoimmunity. So these are the mechanisms. What are the possible emerging solutions to long COVID? And thinking particularly in my clinic about the neurological and neuropsychiatric symptoms of long COVID. Well, it's fair to say that in the UK in particular, conventional medicine seems to be focused on management of long COVID symptoms, very much addressing these symptoms with pacing, such as in the long COVID clinics under the care of occupational therapists, physiotherapists. And patients certainly do find that pacing and also just the passage of time are really critical to their recovery. In addition to this, however, in my clinic, I'm seeing that diet is absolutely critical to enhance recovery. And the sorts of dietary approaches that I've recommended and continue to recommend to my long COVID clients include, firstly, as an absolute foundation, an anti-inflammatory diet. So think about a sort of Mediterranean style diet where we stop pouring fuel on the fire of inflammation by removing foods such as sugar, refined grain, processed foods, artificial ingredients, and we add in the good stuff. So think about colourful fruits and vegetables, herbs and spices, omega-3 fats found in our oily fish and in our nuts and seeds. And this anti-inflammatory dietary approach, I would argue, should be an absolute bare minimum for recovery. The second dietary approach that I'm recommending to some of my clients is to consider a low histamine diet. And this is especially the case if they're finding that symptoms flare up with histamine-rich foods or aged foods, or if they are noticing increased sensitivity to foods. And particular symptoms of histamine can include flushing, racing heart rate, nausea and GI symptoms generally, migraines, nasal congestion, and headaches. So all of these sort of point to a histamine sensitivity. And the third dietary approach that I'm really going to focus on today, specifically for the neurological long COVID, is the ketogenic diet or the keto diet. And I'm finding that this is really potentially a transformative strategy for mitigating the neurological impact of long COVID and this very low brain endurance and brain fatigue. So the keto diet is a therapeutic diet characterized by high fat and low carbohydrate intake. And the main objective of the diet is to instigate a state of what we call nutritional ketosis in the body. But what exactly is nutritional ketosis and how does this diet function at a cellular level? Well, nutritional ketosis is really a metabolic state where the body predominantly relies on what we call ketone bodies as an alternative energy source instead of glucose. So ketone bodies, most notably one called beta hydroxybutyrate, or BHB, these are generated when the body transitions from fueling from carbohydrates or glucose. And we move from burning glucose as a fuel over to burning fats. And this metabolic shift can play does play a very pivotal role in the ketogenic diet's mechanisms, essentially. So it's very much like a hybrid car that can fuel from either petrol or electric. When we switch to electric, we're basically switching into the ketogenic state, and notably, much like electric, ketones are a much cleaner fuel source. Now, the ketogenic diet has been used for many years in many different conditions, most notably in epilepsy for over 100 years, especially in refractory epilepsy in children. Some cancers seem to respond quite well to a ketogenic diet alongside other treatments. Neurodegenerative disease such as Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's, neurological autoimmunity such as multiple sclerosis, migraines, and also metabolic disorders. So many different conditions that the ketogenic diet's been used for, but why would we consider using it for long COVID? Well, I started tentatively recommending the ketogenic diet a couple of years back now in my long COVID client, where appropriate, to clients with the neurological symptoms of long COVID, when I saw that their symptoms seemed to very much reflect a kind of neuroinflammation characterized by extreme fatigue, brain fog, poor executive functioning, attention problems, and all the rest of it. It was almost as if their brains were starving. And really, a ketogenic diet, we know, is not suitable for everyone, but certainly in those that tried it, the results were often quite rapid and exciting and dramatic, in many cases, with an improvement across the board in the neurological deficit, and really dramatically improved energy across the board. And I ran about a year ago now, so starting about a year ago, I ran a 6-week small group program where I guided a small group of participants through the implementation of a healthy ketogenic diet. We saw improvements across the board after just 6 weeks, including a 30% reduction in fatigue, an improvement in energy, a 37% improvement in memory and cognition, a 32% improvement in sleep, and a 35% improvement in mood. And although admittedly this was just a small group and results were not continually monitored after the 6 weeks, it seemed very promising, and potentially those results could be even better after a longer period of time. So why is the ketogenic likely to be helping? Well, to my knowledge, I think there are several different possibilities. The first is that long COVID is very much characterized by immune system dysregulation, where the immune system very much remains in an overactive and pro-inflammatory state. And we know that the ketogenic diet, when done the right way, using lots of good fats and anti-inflammatory foods, has very potent anti-inflammatory properties that may well help in dampening this chronic immune response. The second possible theory is that the impact of the ketogenic diet has on our mitochondria and our mitochondrial health. So we know that ketone bodies play a pivotal role in supporting mitochondrial metabolism. So the mitochondria being these energy powerhouses of our cells. And it's quite possible that impaired mitochondrial energy metabolism plays a significant role in long COVID, as it does in ME and chronic fatigue, so that fueling the cells via a different pathway, the ketone pathway rather than the glucose, can really make a difference. Third theory is really to do with a shift in the microglial activation. So the microglia being the immune cells in the brain, which are responsible for maintaining our neural health and our brain health. And the ketogenic diet, we know, can induce a shift in these brain immune cells, the microglia, from a pro-inflammatory state to an anti-inflammatory state. And this shift could well be alleviating brain inflammation, potentially addressing things like the cognitive dysfunction and other neurological symptoms. The fourth possible theory is to do with antiviral immunity. So recent research suggests that the ketogenic diet may well boost antiviral immunity. So by altering the body's metabolic state from a carbohydrate dependent state to a fat dependent ketogenic state, this may well have an impact if there's any viral persistence, because it helps to dampen down the viral replication and enhance the production of protective T cells in the immune system. And lastly, the fifth possible mechanism, and of course these all may be feeding into the pot and may all be part of the solution, but the fifth possibility is what we call metabolic flexibility. So the ketogenic diet really encourages metabolic flexibility and a healthier metabolism, allowing the body to efficiently switch between fuel sources. And this adaptability may be particularly advantageous for individuals with long COVID, as it may help them to overcome the blood sugar roller coaster and the associated energy crashes that we get as a result. So in summary, really the ketogenic diet, in my experience at least, certainly may offer a multifaceted approach to mitigating the neurological effects of long COVID, very much through its anti-inflammatory, immune regulating and metabolic benefits, and really could make it quite a promising strategy for some, not all, who are grappling with the prolonged consequences of COVID-19. So I hope that you have found some of that helpful today. Please do share with anyone you think might benefit. And if you are struggling with the neurological effects of long COVID and may be interested in experiencing the benefits of a ketogenic diet with guidance, then check out my LongCovid Brain Rescue program, which is now available on demand. I'll pop the link below this video, where I really walk you through over a 6-week period both the science and the practical how-to, with plenty of resources, recipes, as well as guidance on the other key recovery pillars, thinking about rest, pacing, and the glymphatic system in the brain. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and do let me know your thoughts below. Bye for now.